Share this so people know we're here. Ursula, morning person out South Africa. Wow, beautiful. Mary Mason, great to see you from San Diego. Isla Cota from Pueblo, Colorado, working on anger and patience. That's a big one. Anna, good morning from Romania. Beautiful Anna, welcome. All right, beautiful souls. As always, I am deeply, deeply grateful to share this space with you. You guys are truly an inspiration to me, and it's an honor to hold space. And so my job is here to be of service to you and help in any way that I can with whatever you are working through. So this month is a pretty potent month in our spiritual work, because again, this is going to be kind of it's a pinnacle moment of this year where everything starts to go really fast. So there are some things that we need to pay attention to. And let me see, where can I put this? Just right here. Very good. So topic of this week. Okay, topic of this week is primarily looking at, we're going to be working with really embodied practice of authenticity. And the reason why is because one major theme that I'm seeing this week is a challenge of, you see, if we are just pretending that we are doing the work, or maybe have a superficial relationship with our truth and what is truly working in the layers of ourselves and the unconscious aspects of ourselves, those are the things that are going to be reflected times 20 in the external world. And right now, this is kind of the calm before the storm, because what is coming for the world in terms of changes has been slowly progressing. Okay. And yeah, it's really interesting to look at some of the different areas of the world that are changing: financial systems, global politics, okay? And of course, in the internal level, which is where we are focused on, is essentially how we are holding everything, all the external chaos. You can begin to understand what is happening internally in the subconscious minds by understanding what is happening in the external, okay? So when you're going through major global transitions and transformations, you'll begin to look at some patterns. The themes of the topics that are being discussed globally, where the focus is going and why, is a good way to observe how that is kind of coming up, bubbling up for us internally. So the invitation is really to take a look at the embodiment. What is really happening in our embodiment? You know, and if we are kind of lying to ourselves, or we ourselves are fearful of our own truth, who we are, what we're doing, why we do what we do, you know, life is only going to bring those more to the top, because many things are happening right now, and the direction that humanity is going, to the point where eventually we are learning how to become a high-level citizens of this universe, civilization. Okay, and so let me put this out there. We've talked about this several times, but what we're headed towards is an advanced embodiment of humanity. What does that look like? Authenticity, transparency, truth. This psychological, emotional output is the result of a biochemical rebalancing that is happening within the collective DNA of humanity. Okay, so right now in the under layers of our subconscious mind, all of you humans that are incarnated on this planet are here because you have been called forth from your ancestral lineage designed specifically by vibrational frequency to transcend the limitations of the bloodline. And the key to a beautiful life of harmony, of abundance, of peace, which is the greatest wealth. The greatest wealth is deep internal peace. The greatest wealth is harmony. The greatest wealth is to be in your truth and living in your truth. Why? Not because it's a moral or ethical thing, but what happens to the body when we embody truth and we live in our truth? We have an entire restructuring of our geometry. And the restructuring of the geometry is an emotional, subconscious, it's a biochemical, a different biochemical setup in the body. It's a different emotional response. And energetically, etherically, the way that you're engaging with the world outside of you is no longer the depletion of your life force, rather the regeneration and the regathering of your life force. If we continue to exist in centrifugal behavior, where all of our life force is depleted because someone says something, or they do something in the world, or they, present something to you as a problem, or you discover something about yourself and you have a hard time integrating and accepting that. These are the kind of things that they are the illusion, and we have to remember to recognize the illusion before you start expressing all of your biochemical life force. Because what happens as soon as you start to feel stress and anxiety and anger and frustration and the need to control yourself and another, is that this biochemical system that's happening is causing chaos in the entire organism. And right now there are going to be, because of technology and because of the age in technological development that we're in, everything is wide open. You cannot hide anything anymore. In fact, everything that has been hidden for a long time is coming up to the surface to be seen. And it's going to be the same in your subconscious mind. It's going to be the same with your relationship to your shadow. Being very close to yourself, being very close to your shadow is very important right now. We have to make best friends with the unknown aspect of ourselves. Because what is unknown in ourselves is going to come right out and present itself to us in the world. So we actually have a tremendous amount of creative power in that sense. And it all comes back to you. I see in this world right now a lot of distraction, right? We look outside of us to the gurus, we look outside to the channelers, we look outside to Pleiadians, Arcturians, everyone that is embodying these kinds of things, giving us spiritual messages. But we hear them and they align us temporarily to those concepts and those ideas. But do you know how to implement those things in your actual life today, right now, in this? Do you know what that looks like? Do you know what that feels like? Do you know what kind of thoughts emerge from the embodiment of those concepts? And do you actually know what concepts you're actually looking to embody? For example, someone says unity consciousness or unconditional love. Do you know what it means to embody that? So what I'm seeing as a trend right now is that we are, once again, we externalize. And so we have to learn to recognize the moment that we start to look outside rather than inside. Because even though you're going to feel like resistance to sit with yourself and these challenging, strong emotions, the moment that you do, the information is going to come quicker than ever before. The ability to come into a higher octave of understanding is going to come quicker before, but you have to be willing to sit and observe the shadow aspects of yourself that you might be resisting, denying, running away from, avoiding. It's a very important thing. And a lot of people that are messaging me that are going through challenging moments and confused and chaos, it's important that we open that inner dialogue. And once you're able to access that information, learn how to discern. Okay, and how do we learn to discern the information that we're getting and what to do with it? We want to learn how to recognize harmonic order, the natural order of things, when things come into harmony. We have been existing in survival for so long that to come back into harmony feels really uncomfortable. Okay, the majority of the human race hasn't recovered the memory of what it's like to exist in harmony yet. Okay, so the parts of you that are acting from fear, your insecurities, fears, doubts, self-doubts, feelings of insecurity, like unsafe. You don't feel safe in your body, you don't feel safe in your life, you don't feel safe wherever you are. These kinds of destabilized foundations are going to cause, it's going to basically amplify that feeling and that emotion. And in a time when we have the majority of society feeling this way, it's very easy to insert concepts and ideas of survival, right? Because when you provide a seemingly good solution, without really getting to know yourself and what's really needed, it can be very easy to kind of go in these directions. Okay, so the invitation is to kind of pause a little more now. And let's talk about how do we bring things back into harmonic order. To recognize harmonic order, number one is that once you're able to listen to yourself, what does it mean to listen to yourself? Every triggering emotion that comes up for you, even if it's the most minimal thing, even if it's a feeling of, I don't know, you're judging some part of yourself. Just that minimal emotion that you sit with and you allow yourself to feel that emotion and understand what is underneath that, that will immediately begin to release the suppression of the emotions. If you can train yourself to do that for 1 month, you will begin to take control over your emotional creation system. The lack of control in the emotional creational system means we're in cyclical patterns of survival and we are just repeating ancestral trauma. So again, I can't stress this enough, but we are basically repeating cycles of survival trauma, and we're caught in that loop, right? And because your entire nervous system is wired to support that survival mechanism, it feels really hard to break away because that feels comfortable, it feels safe. And we are attached with our personalities. We built an entire life around these little subtle ideas about ourselves. So this is where the focus of the work has to be, essentially, because these are really the things that come up in your moments of silence, in your moments of stillness, these emotions that come up that are communicating to you what you need, where you're at, where you need more support, and you find yourself not knowing how to get to that next step. So it's as simple as sitting with the emotion, but in that requires some skill. And in that skill is patience, love, and the ability to not be afraid of your challenging judgments and emotions. The more you embody the 0 point, the state of non-judgmental observation, the easier it is to observe the difficult, challenging judgments that you built around yourself for your survival in order to get underneath to those layers, to see what's really going on there. Who is really suffering? Are our behaviors continuing cycles of suffering for us? Okay, because in my sessions every day, what we discover is that usually when we try to escape something, the more we try to run away, avoid, or resist, the more we drive ourselves towards another situation that's either worse or the same as the one that we're trying to run away from. Because you cannot get away from that vibrational frequency. Vibrational frequency creates. So the human race right now is kind of working through this realization of of power and control. We're learning what those things are. We are a very young race. We're learning what it means to be empowered. And our concepts of power and control are inverted because we believe that it means power and control over someone else or something. And that's where we get confused, because actually the real power is in the ability to control this reactionary, wild creator that is just unconsciously creating with subconscious beliefs, thoughts, limiting beliefs, and actually pulling themselves into more suffering, more chaos, because we're in the dream, we're sleeping. Right? We are unconscious of our actions. We're unconscious of our reactions and the cause and effect. And it's hard for us to be accountable. It's hard for us to see ourselves truly for what we are and what we're doing. And when we feel pain, when we look back at these patterns, because then we realize and we're like, wow, I was really operating from a place of pain or suffering or fear. What we have to come in with is a powerful love for the self. It's always compassion. And so in this work, even though we have to feel those uncomfortable emotions just enough to get an understanding, what we're really doing is we're teaching ourselves how to love ourselves, how to recognize love, how to feel love, how to be compassionate with ourselves first, above everything. Because that self-compassion and the learning of the alchemical process from fear into compassion in your own challenging aspects is what will teach you how to be able to hold space for another human that is going through that. It's incredible how humanity is slowly becoming more and more desensitized. And the interesting thing about that is this is part of the transhumanist agenda. Okay, the more desensitized a human becomes, the more a human can see someone suffering and keep passing, right? Because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to get pulled into that. Every time that we just allow the incredibly profound injustice in the world keep going, this is where we contribute to that. And it's not that we're going to drop everything and react and fight and do that. But there is an alchemical shift that has to happen. We need to learn what is in harmony. We need to learn what to do in those situations. The reason why most of us don't know what to do in those situations is because we haven't dealt with our own trauma, the one that's being abused inside ourselves. Because we are the abusers. We abuse ourselves. We abuse, we put ourselves in difficult situations. We judge ourselves all the time. Sometimes we limit our expansion. We limit our ability to get out of difficult situations. We limit our ability to come into abundance, into harmony, into joy, into peace. Okay, so if you are not recognizing where in your life you continue that pattern, we're just going to be cycling over and over again in that. Okay. So let's talk about this, because what is actually happening right now with this realization is that every change that you do in your subconscious mind, every alchemical shift that you do, changing a lower form of an emotion into a higher, a broader perception, a higher octave. Okay. So higher octave means broader, more holistic. Okay. Lower perception, lower vibrational frequency means more myopic and smaller perception. So in the alchemical process, we do a couple things psychologically from the psychological perception. You broaden your perception. This is how we heal. Healing means becoming whole. To become whole means to embody a spherical structure of light. And in that spherical structure of light means that your awareness is everywhere around you. You are fully aware. Everything about you is aware. Not just the front, not just the top, not just the vision, not just certain parts of yourself. The entire of yourself is aware. Mind, body, and soul comes into awareness. That's what it means to become whole. Imagine that your entire organism is a sphere. It's not just an imagination. You're using your imagination to see the pathways of life force that move through the body. The body is a toroidal energy structure. This toroidal energy structure is moving based on how each chakra is moving, because each chakra is another toroidal energy structure. And these toroidal energy systems are in how they're processing energy, which is emotion, how they're processing thought forms, is either moving your entire sphere, your entire toroidal system fast or slow, okay, blocked or rapidly. And the faster you're able to move means that you're cleaner energetically. So you're working on your energetic hygiene enough to clear blockages. What blockages? Emotional, thought forms, physical, okay, and then etheric. All of these four systems are densities of vibrational frequency from high to low, higher, faster moving rate, less physical, slower moving rate, more physical, more dense. So the more dense something becomes, usually means that we repeat a lower frequency emotion, a lower frequency thought form over and over and over again. We repeat that in the body. That solidifies bioelectrically, biochemically, in the muscle system and the fascia. It is memorized. So every response that you have to something is memorized down to the cellular level of the body. So the invitation is really that we learn how to process energy quickly. What is the energy? Emotions. The majority of us are sluggish through energy, because sluggish through emotions, because we're desensitized, we're disconnected, we're avoiding, we're resisting. We don't want to know, we don't want to see, we don't want to feel. And this is how you become confused. You don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong, you get overwhelmed. And right now there's psychic attacks, psychological manipulation, psychological attacks that are designed to make you feel that you are confused, overwhelmed, lost, and disconnected. When there is an influx of new technology coming in, okay, those that are very fragile in their connection to themselves will be overwhelmed and there will be left behind. And what I mean by that is that because this world is changing, jobs are changing, opportunities are changing, society is going to be changing, communication is changing, technology, all of these things are changing in our world, which we now depend on. We have become dependent on. And there's really no way around that if we want to communicate with our loved ones, right? Or be connected to one another in this grid, essentially. But to alchemize this feeling of confusion, we have to simplify things to the core basics of what is of the reality of this existence. How can we discern the difference between what's real and what is the fantasy of this construct? Anything that manipulates the emotions out of harmonic order is an illusion. Anything that you cannot control in your body right here, right now, is something that we need to economize our energetic exchange with. And in that, you will find clarity. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we're going to just be in la la land, disconnected, everybody just living in some imaginary world. You actually will be able to see further than what is being presented to you, because there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of fear feeding on the fear of people, the insecurity of people. And when you start to notice that in society, you have to pay attention to why that's happening. It's happening because there's something new coming in order to control. When you destabilize the emotional state of an entire human race, as it's been done incrementally in the past 10 years, that's a systematic shift of power. And we have to open our eyes in order to understand what is happening and why, in order to change our contribution to that. Because the more that we are contributing to these destabilized states, the easier it is to pull us in any direction without our awareness. You see, human race has the absolute power, the absolute control, the absolute ability to come, shift, and move this human race in the direction of a harmonious timeline. But first, we have to know what that looks like, and we have to create that internally. So biochemically in the body, this toroidal field that we are trying to become whole in our awareness, be aware of your shadow, be aware of your strengths, be aware of your love, be aware of being able to process love in your body. Come into peace, come into harmony. We need to be very familiar with the plethora of emotions, ranges of emotions from high to low, in order to be able to integrate and create a harmonic balance, regulating the nervous system. Every time coming back to the 0 point to observe what is happening and then create with these experiences from an empowered, grounded state. The more you meditate, the more that you grow gray matter in the brain, the more that you stabilize the nervous system, the easier it is to discern the inversion of harmony, the inversion of truth, and the harmonic order. So what are we looking for when we think of harmonic order? So you need to understand your intuition. How do you identify what your intuition is telling you? How do you know when there is an alarm signal going off? Do you know what are the signs for you? What are those communications for you? Do you know what it looks like for your intuition to tell you that something is 100% in alignment with you? Most of us are very disconnected from this dialogue, and we don't have that ability. So this is something that is really important to develop, and it's one of the foundational things of developing your higher faculties. The development of higher faculties is the dissolving of the transhumanist agenda through each and every one of us. Because if you activate your higher octave abilities, your intuition, okay, and as I mentioned, remote viewing, telepathic communications, they're not just fantasy things that you see in sci-fi or just really cool thing to do. The development of these intuitions is the mastery over your emotional body, the control over the emotional body. When I say the word control, there's a stigma thinking, oh, you got to control that. You have to make sure it only looks a certain way. When I am talking about control in this context, I'm talking about the absolute awareness of your emotion, processing completely an emotion, feeling an emotion completely, getting the information, knowing how to use that information, and responding. So this whole emotion thing, it's a complex system that we have to learn. Emotions are one of the most powerful creation tools in our body that our body creates, because every emotion that you feel, it's a vibrational ripple. It's a bioelectrical charge that is input into the field that connects every single one of us. It connects you and your family nucleus first, and then it connects your neighborhood, your family, your friends, your most intimate partners, community, society, okay? And ancestrally, and through our lineage, we are also connected. We process emotions like our entire cultural and ancestral lineage. We have that memory collectively. It's ingrained in our nervous system. This is how we have cultural archetypes, right? And so subconsciously, we're processing this subconscious information that is just keep producing these behaviors, these reactions. So this level of awareness that I'm inviting you to focus on at this time, this is a very pinnacle moment. Like, you will look back at this time next year, in the next 2 years, you will look back at this time and wonder what you were doing in this moment. Because it's kind of preparation for us in a way. It's an invitation. It's an invitation. And yeah, so let's talk about this multidimensional body, because coming back into harmonic order in terms of creating a regulated nervous system, our intuition can never be clear if it's tainted with our emotions. And I remember the exact moment that I realized that in my healing journey, when I was meditating 9 hours a day, and I began to notice how powerful my intuition was, but then question and doubt, how do I know that that's actually the real intuition? The body would come into absolute neutrality, absolute stillness. And when you reach that stillness, the mind is so clear, so expansive. The nervous system is completely calm. And the intuition is usually the first thing that comes up. It's effortless. It's not something that you try hard to embody. It is a complete effortless emergence and reconnection in the field of knowing that is available to you. But if your body is overrun by emotions like fear or passion or lust or anger or any emotion, that's why you have to know your emotions very well. If you have a little bit of this, let's say, here's a common one. People feel that, to be in the spiritual community, you have to be love and light all the time and just happy all the time. So they sit in their meditation and they connect, and all of a sudden they start having these intuitions. They believe they're intuitions. But in reality, those intuitions are filled. They're like, oh, my heart is expanding. And now that's not really your intuition. This is when we start to kind of create the sensations. We are addicted to sensations of the body. So there's a very big difference between that, because when you're addicted to your sensations, you're going to want to believe that your intuition comes from you feeling full of love or full of happiness. But you have to be very careful with that, very aware of that, because sometimes you can have built a filter of protection that only allows you to see things through a certain filter. And that's where you invest all your time and money, and then it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to work out. Because underneath, actually, there's the doubt or fear or insecurity of some kind, or an inferiority complex. Whatever it is, knowing yourself is your true power. Knowing yourself is your true freedom. Knowing who you really are without the conditioning, without mom and dad's influence, without mom and dad's, playing out mom and dad's, it doesn't matter how old you are playing out the same kind of subconscious belief systems that have run down your ancestral lineage through mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, so on and so forth. The invitation is to have the stillness and awareness to pause, to catch those as they are about to interfere. And here's why, because I see this every single day in my practice when we are doing especially DNA reprogramming, when we're looking at a trigger that's been coming up, just hard to break trigger. I cannot break it for years, keeps coming up. So sit with the trigger, and what do they see? This trigger is something that, mom used to feel, dad used to feel. And then I took it on as my own, and that has become my reality. And now it's become my personality because I believe that I need that to survive. Without that, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm acting. So those are the kind of realizations that a lot of people have when they begin to look at some of these emotions. And what is underneath there is a disconnect between the true self. Most people, they discover that underneath the layers of all these perceptions, emotions, ideas is a very peaceful, calm, whole, complete self. We are innately complete. Innately, you are divine. You are sacred. You are a fractal of infinite potential. Nobody can take that away from you. Whoever you are listening to this from any part of the world and the galaxy and the universe, innately you are a divine vessel of infinite potential that is already complete. We have to deprogram everything that made you believe that you're not. That is becoming whole. What that looks like energetically is that you discard all the emotional blockages and the memories for survival that you're holding within the fascia, the nervous system, the biochemical responses that are memorized, the addictions that we have to certain emotions, emotional states. Some of us are addicted to drama. We cannot exist without having a little bit of drama somewhere, somehow. It doesn't matter if it's yours or someone else's, but for those of you that were in my parasitism class, we literally have entities that manifest and feed off parasites that feed off the stimulation of that drama. So you're unconscious, disconnected from your life, and you're bored. Next thing you do is you need some stimulation. So you go find some drama. You make drama in your life. You create problems, you create chaos, you create situations that require you to be in survival. Why? Because you're familiar with survival and you're addicted to that biochemically. So, just like any addict with sugar, any addict with drugs of any kind, we have to learn how to supply support for the body. What is that supplement? It's love. Love is, once again, the reminder to your whole self that you are already complete. You are already whole, just without these beliefs, without your survival mechanisms. You are whole, you are safe, you are complete. Without your fears, without your grasping for survival, without your externalizing your power, you are complete. That is the healing that the human race has to remember right now. And if each and every one of us come back to this moment to reconnect with ourselves, we're going to discover that very quickly. Now, the discovery of that is, once again, a restructuring, because as you remove blockages, thought forms, and beliefs that are limiting your true whole expression, the entire geometry of your body begins to shift. Because every time that you want to react with anger and then you interrupt that and you start to replace that with another emotion, right? And it's not just emotions that you're replacing, you're changing your beliefs. Okay, so I just want to be clear about that, right? So in this moment of feeling unsafe, you want to respond and have an anger outburst. So immediately you fill yourself with safety. You hug yourself, whatever you have to do, doesn't matter. Even if you look like the only person standing in the room hugging yourself, do it. You have to do it because the entire body, as we're breaking these addictions to these destructive aspects of ourselves, we have to support the self, especially. And you don't get that support from anywhere else. Not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend, not mom, not dad, not brother and sister, not the community. No, it's yourself. It's yourself. Why? Because these realizations have deep layers and only you know them. Only you have sat with yourself to feel what you need and how you need it. You can tell your boyfriend, I need this kind of love and affection right now, but that will not satiate that deep need of security and safety. It's just going to be a band-aid. The internal alchemization, transmutation of a state of unsafety, filling yourself with safety, making you feel, I'm here, I'm in the present moment, I'm good, I have my body, I'm calm, I'm safe, I'm in a safe environment. In this moment right now, I'm perfect in this moment. So that entire rewiring and looking at a different perception of your reality is immediately restructuring your body. That's why you can't fake spirituality. You can't fake awareness. You can't fake alignment. You can't fake your frequency because it's everything is moving. You are a very complex, beautiful organism. Many systems are participating in your transformation. And you'll become aware of all these systems the more you practice, the more you observe this, So secondly, in the mastery and control of your emotions, now that I've explained what that actually means, right? The ability to be aware of your patterns. Okay, so as soon as you catch the pattern that wants you to go into feeling unsafe or survival, the moment you catch that, you know what you need to replace that with. Okay, and that's the other half of the work that you do. This is why meditation is important. And if you just spend 10 minutes in the morning feeling the emotions that you have been suppressing the past 24 hours, you will learn your body and your psychology, the field, the intelligence, the biochemistry, the intelligence of self-organized systems. So that being said, to embody harmony, as I mentioned, there's nothing you have to do. You actually already exist in harmony. You have to recognize where you have come out of harmony. Okay, same concept. So as you sit with your emotions and you feel the emotion, and then you shift to observe the emotion in your body, that's where you start to notice, oh, I feel unsafe because then you're just going to start getting memories of childhood. Let's say mom and dad left you at the mall one day and, you were by yourself and you didn't know what to do there. You felt abandoned and scared. Okay, so that's where all the programming came from. And you just sit, simply observe that memory. You don't cry about it. You don't need to go into this emotional attachment and entanglement with it. Just observe these emotions, observe the memories, focus. You have to have this hawk eye focus on the emotion in the body. And this is why closing the first three chakras is such a powerful, powerful tool. Because when you shrink the first three chakras, you quiet down the imbalances of the emotions that you have been sustaining for your entire life so that you can see past the sensation body. Because we are so addicted to the biochemicals and sensations of every emotion, whether it's fear, every time you feel fear, your stomach contracts, you start to sweat, you start to feel afraid, whatever is happening, those are memorized in your body. So we want to quiet down those unconscious reactions by shrinking the first three chakras. It's a very powerful tool. And not a lot of people talk about that because not many people understand what are the chakras really. The chakras are the most advanced technology in this universe. It's a vortex system of information. The kind of advanced technology that you have in your body, you cannot replicate because it's an organic interdependent system with the entire universe. Every chakra is connected to planets. It's connected to solar systems. It's connected to your ancestral lineage through the Akashic records. When you tap into a memory that's stuck here in your solar plexus from childhood, and you can start uncovering that same vibration down your lineage. That's how powerful it is. And the invitation is do that because really For the person that is overwhelmed with parasite and parasitic mindset and survival consciousness, it's hard to break away from that perception because we believe, mind, body, and soul, that if we don't hold on to something or control something, we will die, right? So our survival mechanisms are about life and death. We fear death and we feel that we will be in danger. And that is the illusion of the primitive mind that doesn't know how we function. You see, ever since our DNA took that leap, that jump, that genetic change from the ape. Okay, so based on this scientific concept of evolution, which is not what I believe, but genetically we have in our history that our DNA has changed, right? So the process of that change activated and the DNA. And it's not that we come from the monkeys, okay? We are a hybridized race on many levels. So the hybridization of yourself happens way before you even incarnate into this dimension, because this universe is one. So the nature of existing in this universe is to be hybrid. There's no other option. There is no single entity that is just pure one thing in this universe. This universe, the model of this universe, this multiverse, is to be in a spherical system where everything exists simultaneously and we are all interconnected. So there's no such thing as a non-hybrid being, right? The more higher vibrational frequency you become, the less form you embody, which means the more all you become, more hybrid, even more hybrid, not even genetically, you are energetically hybrid. Okay, so there's different kinds of hybridizations, but you become pure energy. Remember that white light is all the colors of the rainbow. Every single color of the rainbow is in the white light. And there are even higher colors than white. We only know white, but in other dimensions, there are more complete spectrums. Okay, so right now our DNA is moving from 13 to a 34 model of DNA. Okay, and this shift in a higher octave, more broader ability to perceive, to see, to feel is being targeted and blocked by a transhumanist agenda to limit that. Okay, and it's not that there is something outside of us that is evil. This is how the evolutionary, you need to look at the bigger picture of where we came from and where we're going. Everything is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. So this timeline that we're in, we go from the lowest state of consciousness, the most primitive state of survival, into the highest unity consciousness embodiment. We are literally in the middle of that progression for this genetic output. Your DNA is just a fraction of your whole potential. So we're moving as an entire human race through a small fraction of potential. Okay, so every human on this planet, if you combine all of their DNA, it's going to create a spherical model of consciousness. So there's no good, there's no bad, there's no evil, there's no horrible person that exists. Every single human plays a role in the distribution of this experience that we are having. We're feeling the separation through these experiences. And so the sooner we lift the veil of separation to be able to see more as unity, each other as light, your own flaws as just things that you can just discard to see who you really are, and underneath being a complete whole self, this is where we're going to actually begin to come into our power. And you will discover that you've never been powerless. Never have you been powerless. Never are you powerless. Never are you at the mercy of any external power. Everything is just an experience, and we need to mature in our understanding of experience potential. The kind of experiences that we have in our life are a product of generations of ancestral trauma. When you choose to end those, your timelines begin to change. Your life paths begin to change. Your opportunities begin to change. The directions in which we're going changes. So the invitation right now is to please consider doing the shadow work, the deep shadow work, because in that is your freedom, which already exists. There's no separation from that. So these are some things that are sometimes, we're brainwashed by everything that's happening in the outside world. But you see, when you start to really quiet the mind and start to observe things, and you come more into harmony with nature, you begin to see harmonic order and imbalances of harmonic order. And you begin to recognize very quickly what is true and what is not true. Suffering is a choice, and it's also an illusion. And only the mind that is completely filtered from and disconnected from the shadow can't believe that. So we have to become friends with our shadow. Everything we don't know about, everything that we find disgusting about ourselves, even your bodily functions. One of the most interesting things that I learned about myself during this process, every part of myself that I thought was gross or unsavory, turns out in that emotion, in that rejection, in that feeling, was generations of self-judgment and rejection. In that. So I invite you to get very curious about the things that drive your every action, your every impulse, your every behavior, to see what's in the under layers of that, and how can you support yourself? How can you shift judgmental perceptions of yourself and others into a more holistic? Okay. And it's not really an effort that you have to do, as I mentioned. It's just a matter of peeling the perceptions and the filters that hide your true self. Okay. And you know, what I'm sharing with you, telling you that the true self is complete and whole and harmonious, to get to that understanding, we have to allow ourselves to be able to sit with our imperfections. It doesn't mean that you're just going to accept all the parts of yourself blindly without looking at it. It requires kind of a sobering of sitting with those emotions to truly understand it. Okay, so whatever emotion you feel, judgment, pain, fears about yourself, as you sit with your emotions, you need to understand, how did you get there? And is it true? Because the more you accept yourself, the more you can change what needs to change. So some of you are going to need to change a lot of things. You need to change insecurities, fears, doubts of yourself, unworthiness. Okay, so sometimes what the resistance that we're experiencing in life, it's giving us a message. Some of us, we're too scared to accept those truths about ourselves. We want to hide. We don't want to know, because we're already in pain, because all our lives we've judged it as something negative, and that becomes a block to your potential. Because all of a sudden, when you start accepting that part of you, you will be free, because it's going to open up an entire potential for you. Okay? So this week, I want you to focus on that, because the activation of your DNA is the alchemization of limiting belief systems. Every time that you alchemize this and begin to notice how to observe harmonic order in yourself, the more you come into your authenticity, the more you come into your truth, the more peace you're going to feel. the more peaceful you will become. Peaceful is not a monk on a mountain. Peace is you know yourself. Therefore, nobody can tell you who you are. Nobody can manipulate you. Nobody can make you do things, fear things. And that level of connection with yourself is divine creation. Because the human that is connected to that and creating from that is a human that is aware of accountability. You are 100% accountable for your thoughts, your emotions, the intentions behind the things that you do. And that is actually the embodiment of the new human. Why? Because as I mentioned at the beginning, moving towards into an advanced civilization where we're going to be experiencing telepathy, you cannot hide anything from another in these high-level civilizations. Everything that you are is completely wide open. Those of you that have had contact experiences and have been in the presence of these highly advanced beings, it is humbling to be naked in front of these beings. You cannot hide your little insecurities, your thoughts, the complexities of your mind, your messy mind in survival from these beings. They see right through. And you don't even need to explain anything because everything is there. Your entire energy structure tells a story. It tells a story of your history, your survival mechanisms, and your gifts. And the beauty of developing that vision as we learn to see ourselves as light. When I talk about seeing yourself as light, this is what I mean. Your ability to see your limitations, insecurities, doubts, and your gifts, everything about you at the same time. What would that look like exactly? To be able to see yourself completely honestly. Because in our society, culture is one of the biggest ways to weaponize people's self-ignorance. Okay? You infuse the idea of culture. You tell them this is how this lineage is, and half of the cultures that we adopted in this modern world are actually not the original cultures. They are infused with religious concepts, colonization, influence of colonizations, things like that, all around the world. So really, to look at the real root of core cultures in this world, we would have to go all the way back to the original beings, and that's a long history. So the point is that these socially engineered concepts of self have to be dismantled because they are not true. Etiquette, these ideas of etiquette, these ideas of controlling the human in an inauthentic way into further inauthenticity in order to be docile and controllable. So we have to be aware of that kind of little manipulations that happen. And it's done in very, very nefarious ways, really, through social media. They give you an image of a perfect family or a perfect woman or a perfect man. And if you don't look like that or behave like this, you're not good. So we actually adopt those belief systems much deeper than we recognize. And we build an entire personality to preserve that. And that's one of the difficult things that every time with my clients, when we get to that part, it's a hard one to break, because what's on the other, what we have been programmed to fear is death. Because tribal mind, when we're not accepted by the tribe, we become ostracized, abandoned, and essentially will die alone. That's the belief. And so that's a program. We don't die, first of all. We are infinite beings. We have to get that really clear. We don't die. We're infinite beings. You're pure energy. The sooner you recognize your pure energy, the more you will integrate the concept of death. And essentially, your real life comes into play. Okay? And to understand that you are a creator, you're an energy being, therefore, the law of manifestation is about the magnetization of your body as you come into a centripetal movement. The centripetal spin is your toroidal field moving fast inwardly. Your energy is moving inwardly. Why? Because your chakras are open, clear. And you're not holding on to that matrix programming that is limiting thoughts, emotions, pain, suffering, doubts. All of these beliefs are clearing up your pure energy. The 0 point, right? The more you cultivate that 0 point, you have energy flowing through you, creative potential flowing through you. And essentially, as you allow yourself to come into that state, now you don't have to define or attach to any one concept. This idea of your sex, your race, your culture, color of your skin, where you come from, the language that you're speaking, all of these things are illusions. And for a lot of people that are attached to their identity because they don't believe that they're more than that, they forgot that they're more than that, this world will feel unwelcoming. But there is no such thing because we are one. We are one. And nobody can deny that. Nobody can, they can deny that, but nobody can take that innate, infallible truth. It is a truth that is in the architecture of your existence. So as we go through these tumultuous times, pay attention to when these false belief systems manipulate you emotionally to feel that you are in a war to preserve your identity. The manipulation of identity is going to really affect your energy system. And why this is important, the targeting of your emotional energy is hand in hand with solar movement. We are having very powerful solar activity. We are having very powerful earth activity. Right now, the ring of fire, it's lit up. There are so much energy moving on this grid, on this earth, because we are bubbling inside of ourselves deep emotions, deep questions about ourselves. And so we need to help rebalance the imbalance in this beautiful earth as a participant, as a conscious participant, just like the ancients in all civilizations anchored source through their body into the planet Earth in order to stabilize lineages of energy on this earth, bioelectricity on this planet Earth. Because the more that we block energy, life force moving through our bodies, the more the earth also has a hard time processing life force through its cyclical organism of regeneration. So, it's a lot of people going to experience a hard time right now. So as we rebalance these systems, this is where we can really begin to change. Okay, so we're going to work today on a couple different things that I want to work on. We're going to work on coming deeply into authenticity in the meditation, and in that, opening your system to anchor a wider source cord through your body by cleaning up the energy system. Okay. And the reason for this, basically, it's the embodiment of the 0 point. Okay. Bioelectrically, biogeometrically, mind, body, and soul, to actually embody that. And my invitation is that you sustain these moments of stillness as much as possible. So we will work through that. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to just see if I can answer any quick questions. Nim Nam Gyal Siki. Hi. Hope I said that correctly. Hi, Geraldine. In one of your interviews on Gaia, you mentioned that there are Draco black goo placed in stadiums to extract emotional energy from humans. I've been thinking deeply about that. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Are these beings helping us in some way, or are they feeding off our emotions like energy vampires? I'd really appreciate your insight. Yeah, so based on what I just shared with you, there really isn't good or bad, okay? There's either unconscious participation of something or conscious participation. So everyone has free will, and the more parasitic you become, the more you are going to believe that it's okay to take from someone else something, whatever it is. Take their energy, take their emotions, take their time, take their power, whatever that is. That's a parasitic way of being in order to fulfill any part of you in your subconscious self. So this parasitism exists very strongly in some organisms on this planet. It's part of the harmonic order, but at the same time, they are a reflection of how deeply we have not been in integration with our shadows. So we are not separate from those Dracos. In fact, we are hybridized. Again, we are one. We are one or one, and we have everything, including these Draco reptilians, from which we have also been hybridized from. Right? So we have a reptilian brain, our biology. We won't talk the whole thing, but our entire body and our manifestation, our life experiences, the challenges that the entire human race experiences, the model of systems, societies, societal structures, the entire military complex is derived from the models the Dracos have inserted into this timeline. Their contribution to this human experience is the military complex concept of power and control, those dynamics. Okay, so first we need to understand that. So we're not victims to anything. We have the free will to choose to participate in that, right? So if you go to a stadium and you are just crazy about, your teams, and you're screaming and yelling and you cry when they lose, or there's also a lot of emotional and psychological stimulation. The entire stadium, acoustically, it's built a certain way, certain music, lights, and sounds. You see, all of that comes from deep research that has been done about our psychology. What does it take to engage the viewer deeply in order to buy the snacks that we want to sell in the stadium, in order to make them feel the emotion that they need to consume or behave or engage in this certain way, in order to spend money, to invest, to become more connected? Okay, that's all psychology. And that psychology has been studied very deeply in this construct. We have to be very, very paying attention to when those little psychological dynamics are being played out around us. So in this case, black goo, which is programmable nano matter, and it is something that it can do anything. It can be good and it can be bad. Black goo in general, it's programmable matter. Every single planet has its own conscious matter. Every single planet. It has black, every color that you can think of. There is this goo, which is programmable matter. And it can be programmed to do good, and it can be programmed to do bad. Okay, so in this one scenario, it is for a parasitic reason. And the only way, and the only way that we can work with this, because it's everywhere and we see it a lot in films, okay? We won't go too deep down that rabbit hole, because what really matters is that what this does is it connects with your DNA when you allow it. How? Because etherically in the body, these kinds of technologies function on very deep frequency control. And how do you produce frequency is through the emotional body. That's how you give your life force, through your emotions. So anytime your emotions are stimulated, for example, in a theater, they put on the big Disney castle with the music and everyone feels emotional, right? You think that's random? That's psychologically designed. Okay. And what happens when we are unconscious of ourselves? These kinds of manipulations don't work for the person that is deeply grounded and connected to themselves. It doesn't work. I know that for a fact, based on my own personal mastery and working with many shamans, gurus from around the world that have also experienced that 0 point, cultivated that 0 point in order to understand the difference between being ungrounded, not in the present moment. Okay, so how do you get parasitized? You're not grounded, you're not in the present moment, you're not with your emotions. You're not present with your emotions. And you have years of suppressed emotions that you haven't worked through yet. All of that makes you extremely fragile to any kind of manipulation. And there's all kinds of manipulation all the time. So doesn't mean we're going to live scared. Live life, experience, do everything, but be awake, be in your body, be conscious. So that's really what it comes down to. Okay, is it helping us in some way? Goo that is programmed in a positive manner it's kind of like the most amazing nanotechnology that can reconstruct the body. It can be used for incredible things. In fact, one time I was in this planet, and it was a Pleiadian planet, but also there were some other beings there. Excuse me. And in this world, their entire buildings were made out of this kind of substance, goo substance. And I recognized that it was goo, this kind of same programmable matter, because the entire building was conscious. And I'm talking about the most beautiful advanced cities, okay, that are conscious. And they would morph and move according to the needs of the people. Okay, so for us, that sounds inconceivable. But in this city, not only did it clean the air, it purified the air, it purified the water, it provided healing for people. Just sitting in the chairs would regenerate, and someone that would feel tired would sit, and all of a sudden they would be re-energized again. So you see, that's why technology that we're starting with, so our technology can reach those levels of support for humanity in the right hands. Okay, so really important is for us to understand that we need to learn how to use this technology in a positive way. Okay, talk to AI to give you spiritual information that you're going to just live by as a religion now? No. Use AI to support you in doing what you need to do in this life in order to balance yourself into harmony? Yes. Okay, educate, solve problems for yourself, for humanity? Yes. Okay, your spiritual connection, your spiritual information comes from up here, from here. Nowhere else. Lavinia says, question, I'm in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. Ooh, beautiful. Life has changed drastically for me in the last few months, and I relocated back. I find myself in my spiritual journey taking this huge complex turn. I'm forced out of the false matrix and in Kimbo, happy for it. and I look at our history in Zimbabwe and what is going on internally in myself. And then as within, so without. I do think this is sacred land full of crystals. I think a lot about our ancestral lineage, especially since I have very mixed blood, Indian black, white, Cape colored, very mixed. What does that mean for my remembering? And when you speak on ancestral, is that also our star lineage? Yes. So yeah, really interesting. So yes, all of our mixed blood, essentially, we have the memory of those ancestral bloodlines that provide us gifts, tools, and also the traumas that we're cleaning from those ancestral bloodlines. So what does that mean for my remembering? So, I mean, it's the same. It's the same for everyone. All of us are quite mixed, actually. Nowadays, we have so much in our genetic history. But I guess so let's break it down. Take a look at the patterns that have gone down. Start with your emotions. You sit with your emotions and notice the biggest patterns of emotions that you have in your life, and observe how they have gone down your ancestral lineage, how that has limited the bloodlines. And you can look at each culture as you discover your relatives in your meditation. Okay. And when you speak on ancestral, is that also star lineage? Yeah, so what you'll discover when you do this emotional work is that each and every one of these lineages, they have pretty deep ancestral roots. So it's not like, don't research or look for it in your meditation. You can research it later, but in your meditation, follow the emotions. They will help you uncover memories. The deeper you go with your emotions, you see, because emotions are bioelectrical, the more we open up the pockets of resistance, of resisted emotions. Every time that you open up a pocket of resisted or suppressed or blocked emotion, you're going to open up an entire library of memory. Okay, this is just the beauty of the body. Emotional memory leads you to that's the connection to the Akashic records. Okay, so how we access the Akashic records, you don't need to be a specific psychic or develop something. Your connection to the Akashic records is through your emotional body. Because as you uncover the layers, those emotions will be connected to many memories that are memorized inside of the fascia, the nervous system, the muscle system. It's in your etheric body, in the many chakra layers of your body. Okay, so just pay attention, like an emotion of fear, for example. How deep does that go? First, focus on your life now. So unless your life is in perfect harmony, we don't need to necessarily go looking in the ancestral lineages. Okay, so start with your life. The way I uncovered this information is not looking for star lineages or my ancestors. It was just looking at what was not working in my life and then following those memory pathways back to my childhood. And then that childhood memories opened up memories of my parents. Then those memories of my parents, I was able to open memories of their parents, and so on and so forth. That's how you begin to uncover through the Akashic records. When you're working at that level, you're basically reading your holographic DNA. And essentially those memories that you start to uncover as you begin to question, where did these belief systems come from? Why do I keep repeating this emotional pattern? Why can't I change that or heal that or support myself better? And don't forget that alchemy is to look at both sides. So as soon as you look at the negative emotions, inform yourself, what is the opposite of that? What does that feel like? What does that do in my body? That's the alchemical transmutation process. Okay, so we don't just want to get stuck in all the negative memories and emotions. We want to open up and teach ourselves the embodiment of the opposite of those programs. Okay, and then to answer your question about the star lineage, yes, eventually, as you keep going down, you will find your ancestral star lineages because, whatever your roots are, the many different bloodlines that you have, they all gonna go back to some indigenous lines. And within these indigenous lines, you're gonna notice that there are many connections to the stars that they have been holding for generations. That will help you understand some of your star lineages. Okay. So another way to access that information more directly is through something like a hypnotherapy to access those memories. But this is the progression of this work. And again, when I was doing this work, I didn't even know star seed lineages, anything back then. That was just not even a thing. But my research into my Akashic records through the emotional body led me to have this completely conscious contact experience. That's where everything opened up. And my questions during my meditation that week was, wait a minute, looking at the construct of suffering of my indigenous people and the colonization that happened. Why did that colonization happen? What was driving behind that? We look at religions, we look at the concept of religion. You go all the way back to the origin of when religion first came in on the planet. And then you look beyond that at the systems that moved religion, moved societies, moved politics into models of control. And that's when I realized there is non-human intelligence as a part of this construct. There is something way more complex. That's when I understood and discovered, let's say, aliens or interdimensional consciousness. Okay. And that is where it opened up my understanding of the hybridization program and more. So, please do your journey, go in there. Don't model mine, don't replicate mine. Get in there and see what you find, because for every single one of you, your discoveries are going to be a puzzle piece to the bigger picture. Okay. Christine says, Geraldine, thank you so much for all you do. I can tell you how much I appreciate your work. Love you. Thank you so much. Are thoughts also bioelectric and as important to be aware of as emotions? Yeah, absolutely. So, actually, that's a really, really good question. And I'm actually going to talk about this in my emotional mastery class. I'm doing a master class next weekend on the emotions, how to process emotions fully, how to feel them, and what does that look like bioelectrically. But thought forms, when it's just a passing thought, the invitation is to look at the root of that thought, because usually passing thoughts have a root. And the bioelectrical charge is in the root. For example, if you struggle with insecurity and fear, and then you enter into a party and all of a sudden you have these thoughts, oh, that person must be judging me, oh, that person's thinking this. What's actually driving those thoughts and then shifting your vibrational frequency is the core emotion of the insecurity. You might not realize that. You might think that you're just, a normal person going somewhere in a social setting. But what creates the vibrational frequency, the problem with that is that the core belief of unworthiness or not being good enough will now become a magnet to attract another person that feels that same way about them. And that can lead you into circumstances that are not so favorable, or connect you in relationships that are not so loving and kind, right? Because they're going to force you to see that root cause thought of yourself. So what really drives the creation mechanism is the core subconscious belief systems. As I mentioned, your subconscious beliefs are the most powerful creators. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here on the chat. So many of you. Let's get into the meditation, and then I'm going to jump into more questions, okay? All right, let's get started. I want you to allow yourself to get nice and comfortable. Go ahead and close your eyes. Ground yourself down to the center of the earth. Okay, so come fully into your body. Go ahead and allow yourself to come into a state of complete stillness. Breathing deeply. Go ahead and visualize your energetic body around you. Imagine you're inside of a bubble, and I want you to make that bubble as solid as possible, no openings. You can imagine that bubble completely all around you, and you are at the center of that bubble. It's underneath you, above you, side to side, front to back. Be mindful that your body is in complete relaxation, all your muscles are released. And I just want you to, for a moment, just stay in absolute stillness, observing your breath. You don't need to force yourself to breathe or inhale or exhale. Just allow yourself to notice the sounds around you, the chair underneath you. Take your attention to the feet, to the very base of your feet. Notice if you are in resistance to anything right now, or holding on, or tensing anything, trying to control anything. Let's go ahead and start to focus on the root chakra at the base of your spine. Go ahead and shrink that root chakra down to the size of a dime. Sacral, solar, expanding your heart, front and back, your throat, your third eye, your crown, focus on the bubble around you again. Focus on your grounding cord connecting you down to the center of the earth. Don't focus so much of the sensations on your body. Just focus on releasing the need to control any tightness in your body. Bring yourself fully into the present moment. If you feel resistance to being present in the moment and you feel like you want to sleep or doze off or just kind of go into dreamland, bring yourself back and be with your body. Remember yourself. Be absolutely conscious with yourself. I want you to visualize a very healing color coming up from the center of the earth. I want you to absorb that healing color up through your feet, shins, your calves, your knees, your thighs, up into the solar plexus. See that healing color rotating through your bubble, through your body, the lower half of your body, the middle half of your body. You're going to bring down from source a powerful wave of gold cosmic energy coming down the crown of your head, down your spine, mixing with this earth healing energy. Go ahead and see those two colors mixing, be fully present in your body. Don't doze off, don't fall asleep, don't lose your awareness. Stay completely aware of yourself in the present moment in your body. Ground yourself, be aware of your lower back, be aware of your shins, your calves, almost as if you can see yourself from outside, meditating, sitting in meditation wherever you are. Just notice if you can be both inside of your body completely and also watching you from above. You'll notice how your field expands when you do that. Make sure your first three chakras are closed. Usually when we start going unconscious, they open back up. So monitor yourself throughout this session that you're not going to be kind of forgetting that. You're going to be really present in your body and intentional during this entire meditation that you're shrinking the first three chakras and activating your heart, your throat, and your third eye. You're going to take 10% of that combination of healing and cosmic energy back down to the center of the earth. Go ahead and create a channel of elimination from your body down to the earth as you pull cosmic energy through your body and into the earth, healing the earth. I want you to visualize this cosmic energy coming down into the center of the planet, healing the planet, infusing nature, infusing the earth with healing, quenching its thirst, filling it with nutrients, providing all the life force necessary for it to regenerate, to expand. We're going to take that energy to all the places on this planet that require support to come into consciousness right now. Anywhere where there are masses of people that are dormantly disconnected from their self, desensitized from themselves and harmony. Visualize the entire earth being covered in this energy, this cosmic energy of remembrance. And you can send this energy to your family, your loved ones. Go ahead and you're going to fill yourself with that energy. 80% goes up your spine from the crown of your head, coating the outside of your bubble. Any cords, any holes in your bubble, you're going to seal. And you're going to call back your life force from people, places, and things that are no longer in alignment with you or that you might be connecting to unconsciously. Call everything back. You'll notice how much energy you have when you do that. Go and allow yourself to absorb 10% of that healing and cosmic energy into your body now, into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level of your body. Direct this energy to any part of your body that requires healing or more support at this time. Allow yourself to see your source cord through your body, out through the crown of your head. You're going to feel that white light connecting all the way up to source, which is not something outside of you, but it's going to look that way. It's going all up your energy body. And just anchor that energy down to your body, your pillar of light, down through the perineum, down to the center of the earth, into the center core of the planet. Imagine that you are under a waterfall of white light. Just allow this energy to kind of recalibrate and move through the body as needed. Letting go of the past, letting go of fears, anxieties, doubts, insecurities. Just go ahead and begin to start reviewing yourself over the past 24 hours. Take a look at the strongest emotion that came up for you in the past 24 hours. Be absolutely present with that emotion. I want you to close your first three chakras, open your top three open. As you begin to observe the strongest emotion, the trigger that came up for you, feel it in your body. Notice what part of your body tenses up the most when you feel it. Every part of your body that is tensing up right now and catching your attention has a meaning, psychosomatic origin, and root of an emotion there. So you allow yourself to observe the many layers of emotions that start to come up. Notice the strongest one. Sometimes it'll take a moment for you to identify exactly the emotion that it is. Try to simplify and get to the root. As you feel that emotion once again in your body, go ahead and take yourself back to the very first time that you felt this emotion. Allow yourself to observe the scenario, this experience. Watch yourself. Notice the emotion that comes up for you. Observe the strongest one. Sit with that emotion and let yourself notice the very first memory that comes up. And just go ahead and see if you can trace that emotion even earlier. Okay. As you're there, observe yourself. Notice what you're feeling in that moment. Where are you? Take a look and see. What is it that you need in that moment? Observing what your need is and observing if you are capable of getting that need met in the environment that you're in. And as you identify what your needs are, as you identify your needs, begin to observe what you need and see if you can turn that need into a color or to meet that need. What comes up and turn that into a color. You guys are doing amazing. Stay grounded, stay focused, stay in the body, observe the emotion. Go ahead and allow yourself to provide that little inner part of you, everything that it requires. As you begin to observe how the external world would not be able to supply that for you fully, completely, and at any time, and you've identified what it is that you need, let yourself completely fill your body with this need. See yourself absorbing that need. And right now, you're teaching yourself how to alchemize this deep wound. Okay, so there's a wound that was created from these several little experiences that we've gone through. I'm sure you may have tapped into some other memories as well. Just notice that there is an underlying belief system that has manifested from this experience. And as you kind of review where it comes from, less and less you see this as your truth, rather someone else's truth. It could be your a parent or a guardian or a friend or whoever is there with you experiencing this, a sibling. And as you allow this part of you to absorb this need, to meet the need within yourself, right now you are working interdimensionally within the timeline of your past. Now, everything is simultaneous. You can access any memory of your past in the present moment, and you can alchemize energetically the frequency of that memory in order to shift how you refer back to that memory. So, as you allow this aspect of yourself to completely absorb this new understanding, this new integration, this new way to view themselves and meet their needs, notice how they transform. Okay, go ahead and take a look and begin to allow all the fractals of yourself that have repeated this behavior throughout your life. Allow each and every one of these parts of yourself to be filled with this new understanding. And go ahead and begin to observe the ancestral lineage. How far down the generations is this belief system going? Notice its effect on the lineage. And I want you to notice how we are repeating that same program. How are you repeating the same program? In your life, how do you play it out in your personality, in your choices, in your defense mechanisms, in your insecurities, in your ability to create? How is this being manifested? Go ahead and allow yourself to see all your fractals, merge them into one self in front of you. Feel the opposite emotion. So, for example, if the emotion is anger, what would be the opposite of anger? If the emotion is shame, what is the opposite of shame? If it's fear, opposite of fear, you get the idea. Allow yourself to feel the opposite of the emotion that has been triggered in you. Feeling that emotion in your body is restructuring your body bioelectrically, biogeometrically right now, biochemically. So allow all of your muscles in your body to feel this new emotion. So you allow yourself to feel this emotion, memorize it in your body. Go ahead and see all your fractals integrating into one cell. Inhale deeply, taking back your life force into your body and releasing what doesn't belong to you anymore, whatever emotions you're holding on to from the past, beliefs about yourself, other people's emotions, clear them out of your body. And let's go ahead and start working with the energy system. Clear out the energy body, front to back, back to front, all the way around you. Imagine you have a giant vortex underneath you, absorbing all of this debris from the energy body. Whatever feels sticky, you can simplify it by turning into water, sand, vapor, dust, whatever feels real to you, and you can vacuum it out, or you can just imagine it dissolves completely. Okay, after you clear your energy body, go ahead and be grounded in your body, and let's go ahead and work with our karmic room. I want you to see a room that represents all the karmic contracts, all the agreements that you've made with people, places, and things in this incarnation to learn, to grow, and evolve through karma and amnesia. You're going to eliminate those. So just shine your crown light, eliminating all those contracts completely out of your space. Immediately, you should feel an alleviation, a release, an expansiveness. Go ahead and go next door to the next room, to the room full of shadows. These are the people that don't have our best interests. Go ahead and just dissolve them out of that space. And you're going to see a pile of sticks in the middle of the room. Just break it in half, clear it out. Go up into your crown. Fill your crown with your creative color. And you're going to align your higher self with your career this week, your higher self with your relationships, your higher self with your family. Align your higher self with your work, your creativity, sexual energy, creative energy, money, manifestation, abundance. Align your higher self with health, vitality, authenticity. Align your higher self with your purpose. Okay, may everything that you do this week be in alignment with your purpose, your higher purpose, your highest harmony. Allow yourself to visualize yourself this week, navigating through the challenges, any resistance, any fear, completely grounded and embodied, completely present every moment of the week. Okay. Go ahead and allow yourself and come back into the room. Go ahead and open your root chakra, your sacral, your solar. Shrink your heart just a little bit, throat just a little bit, third eye just a little bit, expanding your crown. Should look, you went from looking like a martini glass to looking like a little, I guess, a tumbler, you could say. And now that you cleaned your body, we're going to connect up to your source cord. So go ahead and open your 8th, your 9th chakra, your 10th chakra, 11th chakra, 12th, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Make sure your bubble is closed. 22, 23, 24, and above you is a powerful white light source. Go ahead and pull down that source energy down into the crown of your head, down your spine, into the center of the earth. Ground yourself as you feel this pillar of light, your source cord, completely solid, expanded. You can see every part of this cylinder of light through your body. balancing the chakras, balancing the nervous system, the muscles, every part of your organic body, and also your energetic body. As long as this pillar of light stays solid and full in the center of your body, your entire body comes automatically into harmonic order. Ground yourself and anchor that white pillar of light, your source cord, into the center of the earth. Make sure your grounding cord is nice and thick all the way down. Don't not connect, and don't make it thin or fragile. Make it really nice and wide all the way down to the center of the earth. And go ahead and open your eyes. And as you come back into the room, I want you to still see bubble around you, grounding cord, your chakra system, all the way up to the 24th. And with your eyes open, feel your source cord through your body. Excellent, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It was an honor to share this space with you. I love you. I hope that you discovered something really powerful in today's meditation that will help support you in embodying your higher self this week, embodying and integrating. There's no separation between the higher self and yourself, and that you feel more grounded, more peaceful, more secure, more embodied, that you develop trust in yourself, that you develop pride with yourself, doing things that are good for you every moment, things that are helping you move forward, evolve, that are healthy for you, that are good for you. Okay, that's the embodiment of self-love, integrating that practically into every part of your life. Okay, all right, have an amazing week. And let me just see really quickly if I missed any burning questions. Thank you so much for your super chat, by the way. Oh my gosh, thank you. I really appreciate that, guys. Your super chats help me so much. They are such a huge support. Darina Yardova says, true, what if we feel the other's emotions? How do we alchemize that? Yeah, so as an empath, it's important to observe, first understand your emotions, right? So this is the thing. That's why meditation is so important in the morning. That way you can regulate your nervous system and you're not bombarded with your unresolved emotions and then other people's unresolved emotions, right? The more you develop the 0 point, the more you're already integrated with your emotions. And therefore, by the time you are met with someone else's emotions, you know yourself enough to know where you begin, where you end, and where they begin and where they end, right? And so you have a bubble around you. You get to choose. Every time you react to something, you're opening your energetic field for that to enter into your space and attach. Okay, so reacting first step, and then expelling strong emotions towards that reaction is like entangling, like crystallizing your entanglement with a cord. Okay, so the stronger your reactions are to external things that trigger you, the thicker your cords are, the more entangled you are with whoever it is that you're engaging with. So the alchemization starts with you knowing, yourself enough to know where you begin and where you end. And second part is choosing consciously, which means like utilizing your free will to actually decide if you want to respond to that, co-create with that, or simply, stay neutral completely. Okay, that's actually where you start to, once again, master your emotions, but also begin to really shift your frequency. And immediately when the other person that wants to get a response doesn't get a response, they will also become uninterested, because parasites that are speaking through them need to feed off something. And if we are not fun for them or responsive to that trigger, they're not going to get much, right? So it's not convenient for them to keep throwing energy in your direction, because it goes nowhere, right? Okay, so yeah, that's the alchemization of that. So in other words, we have nothing to do with their emotions. They need to manage their emotions. We need to just take care of this. So I wonder also about the animals. Are they completely aware? So we are returning to our raw instincts without overacting mind games. Yeah, I mean, everything in this universe is evolving. Even animals are evolving through their lives and their experiences as well. So are we returning to our raw instincts without overreacting mind games? Well, the thing about the humans, we're not animals at all. We're not animals. Like, more materialistic mind wants to convince us that we are animals and just, based on our moving from our instincts, but we are actually super advanced organisms once we allow ourselves to be and we cultivate that. Um, our instincts are on another level. Okay, so human instincts aren't really designed for survival. They're designed for creation, and that's different, because your intuitive senses are far more advanced and are affecting many more dimensions than a little animal. An animal in this manifestation, they rule their survival mechanisms, their engagement, their creation in the animal kingdom. But a human actually can move through many dimensions. Okay, and we can affect many manifestations simultaneously. So the complexity of a human is very different. So that's not to be confused. We become primitive and we deactivate DNA and we go in a couple directions. We either become like primates, right? Just completely primitive. Or we become transhumanist, basically like robots or like programmable AI. We just take programs. We don't have any, we're not aware, we're not self-aware. So therefore we basically become like just robots. So those are the directions that deactivated DNA manifests. The activation of DNA is the activation of higher faculties and the ability to navigate consciously and with awareness many dimensions, particularly through dream state, but also through our waking state. It's a completely different way of being. And usually that doesn't involve mind games or manipulation. When you come into harmonic order, you're kind of abiding by different exchange laws. And usually you are driven by truth as your foundation. Your foundation is truth. From there, you create on many dimensions. Let's see, any other questions here? Thanks for answering the black goo thing. Got it. It's only for parasitic reason, grounding present. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so again, there's good and bad goo because it's not so much, it's programmable. Anything programmable can move through a spectrum of potential. Okay. Geraldine, isn't there so much emotional work you can keep going forever? Yes, kind of. But let me tell you that once I was able to deprogram all my childhood memory, I began to go into past lives and then I began to see patterns. And what I realized was, okay, lots of complex scenarios and lives and experiences, but they all trickle down to one thing. We are choosing between love and fear. We are choosing between those two. That's it. Okay. And so, 1 second. So when and so this came after like months of sitting in 9-hour meditations, looking at every possible emotion in my life. I mean, really unpacking memories from all of my childhood. And then going into past lives where I began to look at those scenarios. So we're in the human experience in this third dimensional plane where we're experiencing the law of three consciously. We are learning how to discern between creation, and creation is dualistic because there's the integration of the feminine and masculine that creates the third. The third is your creation, the fruit of your labor. the fruit of your beliefs, the fruit of your experience, the fruit of your emotions. So everything we do is this mathematical equation of creation, which is why spirals are the mathematical language of the universe. So when you understand that, everything gets simple really quick. And you immediately begin to notice when you're creating from fear and when you're creating from love. And so you educate yourself on, you remember basically how to create from love. It's a totally different thing. And then things start to speed up. I mean, basically recovering the memories of the past life, it's like watching a film strip of like a million movies, and you just quickly move through them and you recognize immediately where you went from fear and love in that lifetime and where you're repeating it again here or vice versa. So that level of awareness really programs you to understand creation on a really deep level, emotionally, biochemically, but geometrically. Okay, so all right. So yeah, thank you for that question. When I remember my childhood, it feels like my mind is going to leave my body. Yeah, so that happens a lot when we uncover emotions that are hard for us to feel or accept or acknowledge or process basically. And that usually that has to do because in that experience we didn't know how to respond to that experience. So for this, we need to build resilience. And how do you build resilience is by training the body to regulate the nervous system first before you start going to those emotions. So many years before I did this deep emotional work, I was doing Vipassana meditation, I was a meditation teacher. So I learned like 50 plus different kinds of meditations. So I had a really strong foundation of meditation. So my nervous system was nice and regulated. Okay, so the invitation is basically that, you practice meditations like Vipassana to help you regulate the nervous system. And that way, when you start to access these memories, you're not overwhelmed and want to check out. You're also going to teach yourself to be in your body, stay in your body and not feel threatened by being in your body or overwhelmed by emotions that might come up. Okay. Nancy, I just watched some sci-fi movies and I got me wondering, are you ever in any kind of trouble or being monitored by any agents? Just curious. I experienced a lot of that sort of parasitic behavior when I first came out. And it was really hard to navigate that. And I was mostly quiet about it because it's a complicated thing and it's a complicated topic and it's not fun. And so, but once you understand how to navigate that, you recognize your power again. I think that it's part of evolution, it's part of ascension, it's part of understanding your power. In this universe, if you have doubts, it manifests into those kinds of parasitic experiences. So when I recognize that and I regain my power, then I realize nothing has power or control over me. Nothing can harm me unless I feed into those beliefs with my doubt or my fear. And at that point, everything changed. So yeah, and that is an ongoing thing. So that's something that, we are practicing. Yeah. AE, thank you so much. Much love to you. Peter Carr, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Love you, Peter Carr. He's so wonderful. Thank you for your super chat. Such a huge support. Marilena says, I'm coming to the awareness about my current life being part of the program and forgiving myself and letting go to integrate those parts of my soul. There's so much. That's amazing, Marilena. Yeah, and we create on many levels. All right, guys, that's it. As usual, we went on longer than I expected. I love you so much, Mary. Thank you so much, Ted, Ursula, Isla, Anne, Anna. Such a joy, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Good night. Have an amazing week.